hey, what key is this song in? Are we in the key of G? I don't know what key this is in. The G is the first chord. Are we in the key of G? What is a key? Being able to identify what a key is helps you understand how music functions. When you understand how anything functions, you have a lot more options when you try to use it. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris. Today you will learn what a key is. I'm going to explain how a key works, how it's built, how it functions, right? What is a key? I'm going to explain that. Then we're going to zoom in. I'm going to put that information directly on the fretboard because that's where we want all new information. We don't want to get stuck in here or stuck on a piece of paper. We want to apply it directly to the fretboard. Then it becomes useful to us as guitar players. Once we put that structure on the neck, then I'm going to show you a couple of indicators inside the way a key works, inside the structure of a key, that'll allow you to then figure out what key a song is in. You know, when you say, oh, whenever those two types of chords are together, that must mean it's in this key, right? So I'll show you a couple of indicators inside the structure of a key that help you unlock what key a song might be in. Okay, first things first, what is a key? The word key is great, right? You use a key and a lock to open a door. A map has a key, so you can understand the difference between a highway and a river, right? It helps guide you. It helps sort of constrain all the information. In music, a key at its highest level, sort of like the highest level to describe a key, is a group of notes and a group of chords that sound great together, right? They just sound beautiful together. You sort of can't go wrong when you're in the key, right? When you're in key. So why is that? How do these notes and chords fit together? Why do they fit together? Those notes are basically a scale. That group of notes is a scale. The scale defines the key. The group of chords comes from the scale. So if you didn't know this already, chords are built from scales. They don't sort of just exist. Chords are built from scales using a method called harmonizing. And there's a video here on how to harmonize scales. We're not going to get into that method. We're just going to dig into how a key functions. So those chords come from that scale. That's why they sound so good together, right? The scale defines the key. The chords are built from the notes in the scale, so they can't sound bad, right? Because they're all using the same sort of DNA. They all have the same information. Okay, so that's how a key works. Let's zoom in and I'll show you how to sort of uncover this on the fretboard so we can take that idea and put that on a neck with a method and come up with a pattern that's repeatable. So we can find and then play songs or write songs in any key. Let's zoom in, I'll show you how it works. Okay, what's a key? Let's get that information directly on the fretboard because that's where we want it. We don't want the information stuck here or stuck in our brains. We want it on the fretboard where it's usable. So quickly review. A key is notes, a group of notes and a group of chords that sound great together. Let's tackle those notes first. We're going to use the key of A as our example. The key of A is built using the A major scale. That's the group of notes. That's the A major scale. Those are all the notes in the key of A, and they are the only notes in the key of A. So that takes care of the notes. The group of chords that sound good in this key, where are those coming from? Chords are built from scales. By using the technique of harmonization, I can figure out what chords I can build using this scale. And building chords from this scale, I get a set of chords, one chord for each note in the scale. A chord for the first note, a chord for the second note, a chord for the third note, the fourth note, the fifth note, the sixth note, and the seventh note. And those are all the chords for that key. Here's how it sounds. That should sound sort of familiar, right? That's how the scale harmonizes. That's what it sounds like when you harmonize the scale. The result of that harmonization gives you a chord for each note in the scale. So the first chord, built from this A, because we're in the key of A, we're using that A major scale. The first chord is always a major chord. When you build a chord off the second note in the scale, it's always a minor chord. It's just the way the math works out. When you build a chord off the third degree, it's also always a minor chord. When you build a chord off the fourth degree, it's always major. When you build a chord off the fifth degree, it's always major as well. When you build a chord off the sixth degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm just taking it down an octave so I can put a bar chord here, it's always minor. And when you build a chord off the seventh degree, it's always diminished. Now, diminished chords are not classically used very often. They do have a great function, but it's a little more advanced. Let's just concentrate on those majors and minors for now. 1 chord, always major. 2, always minor. 3, always minor. 4, major. 5, major. 6, minor. There's that diminished chord for the 7, and we're back to root. Those chords, and in relation to that scale, make up the key of A. That pattern, the pattern of the scale, and the pattern of the chords is the same no matter where you start it. So if I said, well, what about the key of C? Here's our C note, same exact scale, right? That pattern is the same for our A scale as it is for our C scale. And the pattern of chords is the same. The 1 chord in the key of C, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, 5, 6, 7, and 1. So no matter what key you start on, no matter what key you define, the pattern of the scale is the same, and the resulting chords are always the same. The quality of those chords, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. It's always the same. So you end up with a pattern that you can replicate anywhere on the neck and basically define any single key you can ever run across. Okay, so inside this pattern, there are a couple of indicators. This pattern of chords is always the same, but there are a couple of indicators that help you figure out what key you're in. And I'm going to give you an example. In this key of A, there's a spot where 2 major chords exist a whole step apart, and that is between the 4 and the 5. Whenever you have 2 major chords a whole step apart, you can almost guarantee that it defines the 4 and the 5 of a key. So, for example, if I'm playing this, you can see that I'm playing 1, 4, 5 in the key of A using our pattern, right? Pretty obviously, this is a 1, 4, 5 chord progression. So here's those same chords being used in a different way. So check this out. This song sort of revolves around the E chord, right? E, D, A, E. So it seems like it's sort of E, right? Like the song starts and ends on E. It feels like it's the first chord we play, right? D and E are 2 major chords a whole step apart. So this chord progression is actually 5, 4, 1, 5. So even though this song sounds like it's centered around E, which it is, it's actually in the key of A. It's 5, 4, 1 in the key of A. So anytime you see 2 major chords a whole step apart, you're almost guaranteed to know that that's the 4 and the 5 in a key, of a key. So if, let's say we saw two other major chords a whole step apart. Let's just say C and D. Okay, let's just say we had a song that went like this. C and D. This song is actually in the key of G, because there are two major chords a whole step apart, C and D, and that's always the 4 and the 5. If this is the 4 and the 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These two chords are 4 and 5 in the key of G. So that's an indicator. There are other indicators. 2, 5, 1. 1, 6, 2, 5. These are chord progressions, right, that follow this method and this pattern of being in a key. You should experiment with these. 2, 5, 1, 1, 6, 2, 5. Take any key, take this pattern, listen to 2, 5, 1, and listen to 1, 6, 2, 5. Experiment with them. Take those relationships into a different key. You're a curious guitar player. Now that you have this information, go see what else you can uncover using this method and using this pattern. Okay, so that's how a key functions, right? It's a set of notes, major scale, and a set of chords. Those chords are built from that scale. So they all sound great together, right? And they all basically form this pattern that's repeatable. It's completely mobile and repeatable. That scale sounds the same no matter where you play it. You're just changing the notes that are inside the scale, but the pattern and the relationship remains the same, which is why the 1 chord is always major and the 2 chord is always minor, etc., right? So that's how this whole thing works. I've tabbed it all out. Those examples are on Patreon, and I've linked that in the description below. Head on over there if you want to get the tabs. There's also some other information, a little bit more of a deeper dive on how keys actually work. If you do decide to support the channel over there, I thank you in advance. I hope this is helpful for you. I hope you find it interesting, and I'll see you next time.